Allahu, 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 Allah, Allahu, 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 Allah, Allahu, 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 Ramadan, Ramadan, ya Habib.
السلام ماہ قرآن السلام ماہ رمضان کریم السلام ماہ ایمان السلام ماہ قرآن السلام ماہ رمضان کریم رحمت ایمان تحفہ یزدان ماہ رمضان اے ماہ رمضان السلام ماہ ایمان السلام ماہ قرآن السلام ماہ رمضان کریم الحمد لله الذي لا إله الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المحيمين العزيز الجبار المتكبر الخالق الباري المستوي الغفار القهار الوهاب الرزاق الفتاح العليم القبير البصير القوي الرفيع المعز المذل السميع البصير الحكم العدل اللطيف الخبير الحليم الحكيم الغفور الشكور العالي القبير الحفيظ المقيم الحسيب الجليل القريب الرقيب المجيب الوسيع الحكيم الودود المجيد البعيث الشديد الحق الوقيل القوي المتين الولي الحميد المحسن الممدي المعيد المحيي المميت الحي القيوم الواجد الماجد الواحد الأحد الصمد القدير المقدر المقدم المخرر أول الآخر الظاهر الباطن الأول المتعال البر التواب المنتقم العفو الرؤوف مالك الملك ذو الجلال والإكرام المقسط الجامع الغني المغني المني الضال النافع النور الهادي البديع الباقي الباري الرشيد الصبور اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم
محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, I got to tell you Ramadan Kareem first. So Ramadan Kareem. And we're now going to look at Juz 9 today. So, a little bit of a recap. We've got the 114 surah in 30 ajza. The Quran was revealed in ayat. There were 6,236 ayat. The Prophet then directed as taught by Allah into what we have chapters or surah, 114 surah, and that's what the Quran is as. The only reason we have ajza is because to make it convenient to finish in a month, and you have 7 manazil to make it convenient to finish in a week. And our focus today is on the 9th juz. The idea of journaling, and I keep on saying that, is to be able to personalize your Quran. And it's really an amazing thing. I remember my grandfather's Quran, and when I found it, the joy I had, because in the sides, as in the margins and in the top, he never wrote in the script, but in the side and the margins, he put so many notes in Gujarati, and I absolutely adored it. I remember that trip when I went back to Moshi and I found his Quran. I think I spent all the 10 days I was there just enamored by this book. It had become brown, the covers had folded, but the words he'd written are just, they stayed in my head. So this is something that will, I hope, take you through generations. Before you start wudu, recite in Arabic, seek protection from shaitan by A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitani Rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, entering in his name, pronouncing the ultimate declaration of independence, which is La ilaha illallah, and reciting the dua of the Prophet. Walzam qalbi hifdha kitabika kama allamtani. Make me commit my heart to your book as you have taught me. In other words, make me fall in love with this book. And today we will see there's an ayah where Allah says, he comes in between a man or a human being and his heart, a person and his heart. So to be able to raise our hands in dua when we get there and say, Ya Allah, if you can come in between me and my heart, then please make me fall in love with your book. Because the book, in essence, is authored by one who loves the readers. So it's very different from human experiences. So Juz 9, you can see the shelf there, Surah Al-A'raf, which is Makki Surah, and Surah Al-Anfal, which is Madani. One of my most favorite ayats of the Quran, 833, absolutely adore it. And 180 of Surah Al-A'raf, which you can tell immediately it's Asma al-Husna. So let's start. We've looked at Surah Al-A'raf. I'm just going to go over it gently. It's literally, Surah Al-A'raf is about the consequence of rejecting divine guidance. And there is a focus on Prophet Musa, which we will look at today in brief. I'm not going to go over the whole story. I just like you to highlight bits in your Quran so you'll be able to remember them as they come across. So the first thing we're going to look at is Ayah 99. And Ayah 99 is about Allah's plans, right? So he says, Aminu, it's a question. Do they feel secure? Amana is secure. Do they feel secure? Makrallah. Do they feel secure from Allah's plans? فَلَا يَعْمَنُ مَكْرَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Only those feel secure who will perish. Now why? If you remember last time, last week, or yesterday, not even last time, yesterday, if you remember, we highlighted all these ayat of the different messengers. And all of them have the same message. Ya qawmi ubudullaha, ma lakum min ilahin ghayru. Do, obedience to Allah, be Allah's servant, submit to Allah. There is no other God than him. So this is now, in essence, ayah 99 here is actually talking to them. It's saying, are you really secure? You're lying against your fitra. You're lying against your inner being. You know within yourself that he is God. He's the creator. And you're also lying against the messenger. So that's directed to them and directed to us as well. Because when we lie against our own inner being, which tells us what we're doing is wrong, or we disregard what the messengers advise us to do, then this applies to us as well. So that's ayah 99. Right? Let's go to the next slide. Now, these two are of Prophet Musa. So you all know, and like I said, I won't repeat it like I did to the children. The story is about Prophet Musa when he goes to see Fir'aun. So he goes to see Fir'aun, and Fir'aun says, you have the audacity to come here. I raised you as my son. And he says, well, I was scared because one of your soldiers was fighting one of the Bani Israel, and I tried to move them apart, and he fell and he hurt himself. I pushed him, or rather I moved him away, and he fell and he died, and I was scared, and that's why I went away. And he says, Musa, who is your Rabb? This is in Surah Taha. It says, my Rabb is he who created all of us and guided us. And Fir'aun said, but I am Rabb. And he said, what if I show you some clear signs? So these are the signs, he said. فَأَلْقَى أَسَاهُ. He threw his staff. فَإِذَا هِيَ ثُعْبَانٌ مُبِينٌ. It became a snake when it was very clear that this was a snake. Now in the Quran, and I'll show you how I've highlighted it. There, I've put a snake there, by the way. And I've highlighted that. If you look, and I've underlined Thu'ban, there are 3 words for a snake in the Quran. And all 3 describe Musa's snake. Thu'ban is here. So I would write Thu'ban here, which you've already got Thu'ban there. I would put Hayya there. Hayya is 2020, by the way. So you could put it down here, Hayya. I put 2020 here, so I don't forget. And Hayya actually means the scare part of the snake, the fangs. The 3rd place is in Surah 27, Surah Al-Naml, Ayah 10, where Allah calls it a Jan, right? So you could, somewhere if you find space, you could put Jan, and that is the agility of the snake. So this tells you that this snake that the staff became was huge, had fangs, and was agile. Possibly something like what's in the picture here. The next thing he showed Fir'aun was, وَنَزَعَ يَدَهُ فَإِذَا هِيَ بَيْضَاءُ لِلنَّاظِرِينَ. He put his hand under his armpit, and when he took it out, it was a bright, illuminating, shining light, and people were mesmerized. لِلنَّاظِرِينَ بَيْضَاءُ لِلنَّاظِرِينَ. Those who looked at it didn't want to move away from it. So if you can see, I've drawn a hand there. بَيْضَاءُ لِلنَّاظِرِينَ. That doesn't have different words. That is just the way it is. So if you can highlight that, then you know a little bit about Prophet Musa. So what happens? So you see that Fir'aun becomes really angry, and he says, you know what, these are magicians, because this was a land of people who did magic. So he got the best of magicians all together. They had this massive seminar. They got together, and he tells the magicians that whoever beats these 2 will become prosperous. I'll give him whatever you want. So as you can see down here, as you read the story, they said, Musa, will you throw your staff first, or will we? And he said, you do that. So when they threw their staffs, they became moving. They started moving, and it instilled a little bit of fear. There was a fear in it. And Allah reveals to Musa, ayah 117. He says, you cast your rod, don't worry. You throw your staff, don't worry at all. And he does. And it eats up all the other staffs that looked like they were snakes. So now let's see what happens. As soon as the magicians saw that, وَأُلْكِيَ السَّحَرَةُ سَاجِدِينَ. They, magicians, went down into sajda. They just fell into sajda. Now the Quran says, let me go back and show you. Here, can you see ayah 180? It says, فَوَقَعَ الْحَقِّ. It was like the truth fell down upon their backs. Waqa'a is to place something. So imagine somebody puts a heavy load on your back. You bend down. So the truth just poured onto their backs. And it suddenly, they fell into sajda. وَأُلْكِيَ. They just went, سَحَرَةَ سَاجِدِينَ. They just fell into sajda. Now if you see how I've highlighted it, I've put magicians. I've drawn sajda. And I've also put a cross-reference, Surah Al-Shu'ara 46 to 48. Exactly the same words. So they said, قَالَ آمَنَّا بِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ رَبِّ مُوسَى وَهَارُونَ. We believe in the Rabb of the worlds, the Rabb of Musa wa Harun. Now Fir'aun is absolutely furious, absolutely furious. He has nothing else to say. He's beaten. And you can see what he did. How can you believe in these magicians without my permission? I will cut your hands off. And they said, doesn't matter what you do. They said, Inna ila rabbina lamunqalibun. We will go back to our Rabb. So this is a story that will continue. But I've started you off, and inshallah you will look at it and highlight your Qurans. So what happens? So we find that they needed to learn. So Allah sends these, what you might want to call signs or plagues or whatever you want to call them, they were sent upon them. Now let's see what Quran says. This is ayah 133, 134, and 135. So we're going to start off by looking at ayah 133. Okay? So look at ayah 133. فَأَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ. Now Allah sent upon them. How many things? 5 things. Tufan. You know where a typhoon comes from? It's from Tufan. It's a tornado. And tawaf comes from this word as well. What is tawaf? To go round and round. So tufan is something that goes round and round, like a tornado. So that's a tornado. So the tornado came down. And then you had these other things that came down. Well, you can see that, right? Well, jarad. Jarad is locusts. Oh my goodness. These are not very nice. Well, qummal and lice. They were everywhere. Wherever they saw, there was lice and locusts. Now, these came separately, by the way. There was tufan, there was locusts, and then there was lice. And then look at this. Wasafati. My goodness. Frogs. Everywhere they looked, there were frogs. Like dam and blood. The water turned to blood. And Allah says these are ayatun mufassilat. You know, tafsil is something that's clear, very clear. These are very clear signs. Fastakbaru, but they still were arrogant. Kanu qawman mujrimeen, they were guilty people. Then what it is? Walamma waqa alayhim rijsu, when the plague came on them, qalu, they went straight to Musa, Ya Musa, Ya Musa. Ya Musa, du'u lana rabbaka. Please do dua to your Rabb. Bima ahida indaka. But he has promised you. And they said, لَإِن كَشَفْتَ عَنَّا الرِّجْسَ, if you remove this from us, then نُؤْمِنَنَّ, we will definitely believe لَكَ in you, وَلِنُرْسِلَنَّ مَعَكَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيل, and we will let you go with the children of Israel. We will let you go with Bani Israel. Think they did that? No. So when we removed the plague, فَلَمَّا كَشَفْنَا عَنْهُمْ رِجْسَ إِلَىٰ عَجَلٍ, oh my God, they broke their promise. So Allah says, we inflicted upon them. Now, what did we do to them? Let's go to the ayah so you can see. فَانْتَقَمْنَا مِنْهُمْ فَأَغْرَقْنَاهُمْ فِي الْيَمِّ بِأَنَّهُمْ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَكَانُوا عَنْهَا كَافِرِينَ. So we gave them the recompense of what they did, and they were drowned. فَأَغْرَقْنَا is to drown. Yam is a large body of water, or water that flows downhill. Why did we do that? بِأَنَّهُمْ كَذَّبُوا, because they lied. بِآيَاتِنَا, in our signs. وَكَانُوا عَنْهَا غَافِلِينَ, they were heedless, and we'll talk about heedlessness as we go along. So I'll go back to my Quran, and you can see the reason why I put that bit in blue, so I know it was water where they were drowned. Right, let's look at the next ayah. The next ayah is 30 plus 10, and it's 40. And it's something that we recite in the Salah of Dhul Hijjah. In the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, this is what we recite. So you can see in my Quran, there you go. I've drawn a mountain. I've got 30 plus 10. I've written Dhul Hijjah Salah, but I've also put Arba'in Kalimiyah, because this happened on the 1st of Dhul Qa'dah. And these 40 days, from the 1st of Dhul Qa'dah till the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, are known as Arba'in Kalimiyah. That's 40 days. I've circled Thalathin, which is 30, and Ashar, which is 10, and then Arba'in, which is 40. So let's go back to the ayah. What happens? وَوَعَدْنَا مُوسَى ثَلَاثِينَ لَيْلَةً. So we appointed a time for Musa for 30 nights with us. وَأَتْمَمْنَا بِهَا بِعَشْرٍ, and then we added 10 more nights. فَتَمَّ مِيقَاتُ, and this completed the time of his Rabb, أَرْبَعِينَ لَيْلَةً, 40 nights. Now what happens? So Musa goes up with 70 of the Bani Israel, and Allah says 10 more nights. Now down in where the people are, remember this is going up the mountain, down, Prophet Harun is down there with all these people, with all the Bani Israel, and after 30 nights, they get really, really restless. They don't like it at all. They're really, really upset. So look what they do. Let's go to the next time. So they had their ornaments, their gold, and they gave it all to this guy called Samiri. And Samiri was somebody who knew how to make things, and he made it into a golden calf. Remember, this is between the 30th and 40th day, because they're saying, oh, Musa's not coming back. You know, we want to go back to what we were worshipping. We want to do that. Remember the yellow cow that was in Baqarah? Same thing. So he makes this. Now, Samiri had also taken some dust from the hooves under where Jibreel was. So Jibreel was with them when they were crossing the river. And he had put some in his pocket. It was very smart. And he put this dust into the middle of this cow that he had made. And it started making a mooing sound. And they said, oh my goodness, this is something that speaks to us, something that's able to speak to us. You could draw a cow there. If you look at mine, I've written Ijla there, a golden calf. So Samiri gets this, and he made it for the discontented Bani Israel from the ornaments they gave him. So وَاتَّخَذُوا قَوْمُ مُوسَى مِنْ بَعْدِهِ مِنْ حُلِيٍّ إِجْلًا جَسَدًا لَهُ خُوَارٍ. And they made this calf after him. It was mere body. And it made this noise. And then, أَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّهُ لَا يُكَلِّمُهُمْ. Could they not see that it did not speak to them? وَلَا يَهْدِيهِمْ سَبِيلًا. It didn't guide them. اتَّخَذُوهُ وَكَانُوا ظَالِمِينَ. They were unjust. We sometimes get pulled in by stuff that is just not what religion is all about. And this is an example for us. So highlight it. You could highlight just the ijla there, just so you remember where the golden calf is. We go to ayah 156. And all I want you to highlight here, all I want to make apparent to you is this sentence. And I absolutely love it, which is right down here. Can you see it? وَرَحْمَتِي وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. If you look at it here, وَرَحْمَتِي وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. We start Dua Gomel with this. It's just amazing. So how did that come about? So we find that Prophet Musa has chosen his people. They say they want to see God. Allah says, look at the mountain across. The mountain explodes and they all die. Allah brings them back to life. And then you find the dua. Anta waliyuna. You are our wali. Faghfir lana. It's a dua you can recite in Qunut. Warhamna. Forgive us. Have mercy on us. Wa anta khayrul ghafirin. You are the best of forgivers. Waktub lana fi hadhi dunya hasana. Give us good in this world. Wa fil akhirati inna hadana ilayk. And we turn to you. We are guided towards you. And then he says, Rahmati wasi'at kulla shay. So I put in my Quran, Dua al-Kamil, just so it reminds me where it is in the Quran. Right, let's go to the next one. 715. My goodness, this is a really, really amazing ayah. So let's see what this ayah says. Allah says, Alladina yattabi'una rasul. Those who follow the messenger. There you go. I'll bring it down so you can see it. Alladina yattabi'una rasul. You could draw 2 feet there because that is following the Prophet. He says, An-Nabiyul Ummi. Who is the Nabi? Who is the Ummi? He's the Prophet and he's from Makkah, right? What does he do? Alladhi yajidunahu maktuban indahum fit Tawrat wal Injil. So it is he that is talked about in the Tawrat or Injil. What did he do? So the first thing he did was, Ya'muruhum bil ma'ruf. You know, we're told to follow the messengers. The first thing you've got to do is Ya'muruhum bil ma'ruf. We talked about him. He makes known what is decent, what is right. وَيَنْهَاهُمْ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. We talked about that as well. He keeps them away from that which is not known as decent, which is evil. وَيُحِلَّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. And he makes halal that which is good. وَيُحَرِّمَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. And he prohibits that which is filthy, which is not good. Now this is where we really need to understand it, and I'll go back to the ayah. وَيَضَعُ عَنْهُمْ إِسْرَهُمْ وَالْأَغْلَالَ الَّتِي كَانَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ. He removes from them the isr. Isr is a heavy load. Aghlal is a chain that they have tied themselves, which is upon them, which is the chain of traditions, which is the chain of making up things, superstitions, things we make up ourselves. He took that away from us. فَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِهِ. And those who believe in him, وَعَزَّرُوهُ. And those who respect him, وَنَصَرُوهُ. And help him, وَاتَّبَعُوا النُّورَ. And they follow the light, which is the Quran. الَّذِي أُنزِلَ مَعَهُ. Which has been revealed to them. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. They're the ones who will be successful. So we have the freedom to choose our actions, but not the consequences. This ayah actually tells us that religion, or the Prophet, was here to take us away from the shackles of tradition, from the shackles of things that we put on ourselves. So many times we impose traditions on ourselves. We impose things on ourselves and we say, well, this is how everybody does it, so we do it. He was there to bring simplicity back into our lives. So if you can see the shackles there, inshallah, you could probably draw them there. If I were you, you could probably draw chains there if you wanted, and you'll be able to remember that this is the breaking of chains. Next ayah, 7171. So if you turn your Qurans to 7171. Now, this was again the Bani Israel, right? So the Bani Israel were arrogant. And Allah says we had to lift the mountain. وَإِذْ نَتَقْنَا الْجَبَلَ فَوْقَهُمْ. The mountain was literally raised above them, as if it was a covering over their heads. كَأَنَّهُ ذُلَّةٌ. It was like a cloud. وَظَنُّوا أَنَّهُ وَاقِعٌ بِهِمْ. And they thought it would fall down upon us. That's when that happened. That's when they took the covenant that they would follow Prophet Musa. They needed that sort of, if I can say, threat to be able to take it forward. So all I've done is, in essence, put a mountain there to remind us that we don't need a threat to be able to follow the messengers. The next ayah is 180, and I showed you that in the knickknacks. So what I did was, from the shelves, I've cut it out, 180, and I've put it there, so it always reminds me there. And you should know this ayah, it's beautiful. وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. And for Allah are the best of names. فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. Call on Him with those. Surah Bani Israel, Surah Al-Isra 17:110 says the same thing. And He says, وَذَرُوا الَّذِينَ. Move away from those who يُلْهِدُونَ فِي أَسْمَائِهِ, who do not respect these names. So يُجْزَوْنَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. They will know what they did. Now what does that mean? That means if I do not instill in myself the qualities of Allah, then I am in essence violating the sanctity of those names. So the Prophet said, تَقَلُّقُ بِأَخْلَاقِ اللَّهِ. Adopt in yourself the akhlaq of Allah, which means adopt in yourself these qualities. It is good to know them. So you can see I've highlighted that in green. Right, 7187. Next one. This says, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ السَّاعَةِ. They ask you about the hour. أَيَّانَ مُرْسَاهَا. When will it happen? When will it take place? He says, قُلْ, tell them, إِنَّمَا عِلْمُهَا عِنْدَ رَبِّي. The knowledge is only with my Rabb, nobody else. So let's have a look there. See, it says the knowledge is only with my Rabb. Now let's go a little further and see what he says. لَا يُحَلِّيهَا لِوَقْتِهَا إِلَّا هُ. He will not reveal that knowledge. He's not going to tell anybody it. He will not bring it to light except when he wants to. ثَقُلَتْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. I need you to remember that word ثَقُلَتْ. ثَقُلَتْ refers, and you'll come in a minute, ثَقُلَتْ refers to a pregnant person. In other words, it says he's impregnated the heavens and the earth with the concept of qiyamah. They're waiting. So, you know Surah Zilzal, that's why I've written it here. I've written أثقالها. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها. When the earth will lay down its burden, just like a pregnant woman waits to lay down her child, to give birth to her child. Then he says, لا تأتيكم إلا بغتة. Can you see that? إلا بغتة. It will not come, when it said it'll come as a surprise, it will slowly creep on you. And then he says, يَسْأَلُونَكَ كَأَنَّكَ حَفِيٌّ. You keep on asking this question, when will it be? When will it be? Hafi is somebody who persistently asks. Anha, قُلْ إِنَّمَا عِلْمُهَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. The knowledge is only with Allah. لَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But most people don't know. So keep in your mind that image of a pregnant earth waiting to give birth on the day of Qiyamah, waiting to lay down its secrets. Now let's see. Now the next ayah is about pregnancy. Let's see what it says. So if we go to ayah 189. There you go. وَالَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَّفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. He created you from a single being. وَجَعَلَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا. Then you had your spouse, that you might. Now look what he says. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا لِتَسْكُنَ عَلَيْهَا, so that you may find peace in her. So this is talking about peace in her. فَلَمَّا, okay, فَلَمَّا, right here, تَغَشَّاهَا, when you had intimacy with her, حَمَلَتْ حَمْلًا, she became pregnant. خَفِيفًا, it was a light load in the beginning. فَمَرَّتْ بِهِ, and it started moving in her. فَلَمَّا أَثْكَلَتْ, then when it became heavy, that means now she's heavily pregnant. دَعَوُا اللَّهَ رَبَّهُمَا, they both prayed to their Rabb. لَإِنْ آتَيْتَنَا صَالِحًا, if you give us a good child, لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ, we will be those who are thankful. And the reason I've highlighted this is that, this is both, look at how he connects this pregnant earth with this pregnant person. And they say, both of them say, that we will become of the thankful if you give us a good child. We say, we will be thankful if you relieve us of the difficulties of the day of Qiyamah. But he says, فَلَمَّا آتَاهُمْ صَالِحًا, when he gives them a good child, جَعَلَ لَهُ شُرَكَاءَ فِيمَا آتَاهُمَا, they associate, they say, nothing to do with him, nothing to do with Allah. We did this all by ourselves. فَتَعَالَ اللَّهُ عَمَّا يُشْرِكُونَ. He is much higher than what they associate with him. So if those two ayat, you can sort of put together as in the earth is pregnant with Qiyamah and the human beings' pregnancy and how they wish to lay down their load. Right, let's look at the next ayah. So the next one is 204. Right down here. And we're going to look at all these. So وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ, and when the Quran is recited, فَاسْتَمِعُوا, listen to it. وَأَنْصِتُوا, and be quiet. Remain silent. لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ, so that you may be guided. Raham, or mercy, is being guided. If you want to be guided, listen to it. So this also applies to Salah, because Quran is recited in Salah. So you look at my Quran, down here, I've drawn a Quran, I've said show respect to the Quran, and I've written Salah as well. Remain silent. You can't have the Quran on and do something else. It doesn't work. It's not like a side thing that you listen. It's something to be taken, really seriously. It's from Allah, really got to. Then we're going to look at the next two ayats, okay? So, because they're a continuation. He says, وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ فِي نَفْسِكَ, remember your Rabb within yourself. تَضَرُّعًا وَخِيفًا. Now, tadarruan is a combination of khushu and khudu, which means you want to be able to have respect, have humility. But tadarruan will also mean to be able to be humble. Khifa is in a voice that it's not like, it's from ikhfa, right? Ikhfa is an audible whisper. So inside of yourself, remember him. وَدُونَ الْجَهْرِ, not loud. Jahr is voice, a voice that a person in the room can hear. مِنَ الْقَوْلِ بِالْغُدُوِّ, so in the morning. وَالْآصَالِ, asal means the different shades of the night. It doesn't say just one night, it's different shades of the night. وَلَا تَكُمْ مِنَ الْغَافِلِينَ, don't be of the heedless ones. Multiple shades of the evening, when I say asal, is all Zuhar, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. But Ghudu is only one, which is Fajr. Right? So he's saying, if you want to remove heedlessness, the two things that take us away from Allah, or the two things that take us away from being successful, are heedlessness and takabbur. Here he says, heedlessness, if you want to combat it, remember Allah continuously. And that which makes us heedless or takes us away from Allah is none other than something like entertainment. And let's look at the next line. Sorry, it's not here. I'll take it back, take you to here. And the next ayah says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ, those who are with your Rabb, they don't have arrogance. Why? And ibadati, because they وَيُسَبِّحُونَهُ, they glorify him. In other words, they declare his perfection. وَلَهُ يَسْجُدُونَ. In other words, and we do sajda, in other words, they pray. So to combat heedlessness, remember him. To combat arrogance, pray lots of salah. And you find this whole surah began with arrogance. You saw shaitan not wanting to do sajda. And it ends with the sajda. This is a mustahab sajda, by the way. So you could draw a sajda here, and it reminds you that it's a mustahab sajda here. I've stuck that here. That's normally stays here, which tells me heedlessness is that which takes you away from Allah. It's entertainment that takes me away, and the remedy is remembrance. Arrogance is always worried about my self-image. What will people think of me? What others think of me? The remedy is salah, which is subhan and sujood. Now we go to the next surah, which is Surah Al-Anfal. And Surah Al-Anfal, surah number 8. And basically, if I were to put this together in one sentence, it is the characteristic of true believers. That's what Surah Al-Anfal is about. So there's only 4 places in the Quran where Allah says, Innamal mu'minuna. And 2 of these places are in this surah. So you can imagine, Innamal mu'minuna, Innama in the Quran means no doubt, definitely, but nothing. So you find the characteristics of true believers. And if you look at your building, you will find it in section 2, and you will find it in, let me go back here. So you'll find it in section 2 up here, and you will find it again up here in section 8. And we'll deal with that next time, but we'll look at section 2 today. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at what is Anfal. So all you need to do is highlight Yas'alunaka anil Anfal. Highlight Anfal in your Qurans, like I have done. And you could write up there, if you look at the top of my Quran, I've written there, Anfal is from Nafa. Nafila means extra. So this is talking about the spoils of war. Why is it talking about extra? Because the war that was fought was not for gains. So this is talking about post-Badr commentary. And it's not, remember, the Battle of Badr was not fought to get gains. It was there for protection, if I can say, in self-defense. It was a just cause. So Allah is saying, yes, alunaka anil anfal. They ask you about that extra. Kulil anfal lillahi wa rasuli. All of this is for Allah and the Messenger, because they will distribute it. The Prophet divided it justly, removed all discriminations. In the past, they didn't like immigrants, so they wouldn't give it to the muhajirs from Makkah. They used to say finders keepers. If they had spoils of war, they would say finders keepers. They justified it because of their position. So I've written down here, and you can put a sticker here which says, fighting not for gains, but for a just cause, and therefore Anfal. Now we're going to go to the next slide. Who are the mu'mineen? And I love this. So this is basically what the surah is about. Innamal mu'mineen. And these are qualities we need to instill in ourselves. There are 5 qualities. Indeed, the mu'mineen. Who are they? Alladhina idha dhukira Allah. Whenever the name of Allah is remembered or mentioned, wherever, not only the Quran, the first thing you will find with them, wajilat qulubuhum. Their hearts tremble. And oh my goodness, they are enamored. They're overawed by the name of Allah. Anything that reminds them of Allah. You look at something, they think, oh my goodness, isn't that wonderful? MashaAllah, alhamdulillah, all that. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ. When the signs of Allah are recited on them, زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. They increase themselves in their iman increases. So number 2, 1, their hearts tremble. 2, every time they listen to the Quran, they listen to the words of Allah, they see signs of Allah, it increases their faith. The third thing, وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. And they totally trust Allah. Okay, so let's go down to my Quran and you will see that I've highlighted it. وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. What else do they do? Number 4, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ. They establish salah. And number 5, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And they spend out of what has been given to them. So 5 qualities of those who believe. And you could write them down as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could write the numbers in there too. Right, now we look at the desperate du'as of the Prophet. So this is 9 and 10. These are du'as of desperation. And look how Allah answers them. So he says, Istastaghithuna. Istighatha is like a du'a of pleading. You know, you're really stuck. So when you did istighatha, when it came out of your soul, from your heart, Rabbukum, to your Rabb, fastajaba lakum, he answered you. Anni mumiddukum bi alfin min al malaikati murdifin. I will assist you with 1,000 of the angels, one after the other. This is Badr. وَمَا جَعَلَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بُشْرًا, and Allah gives you this as good news. وَلِتَطْمَئِنَّ بِهِ قُلُوبُكُم, so that your heart is at ease. وَمَا النَّصْرُ, and victory or help, إِلَّا مِنْ عِندِ اللَّهِ, it's only from Allah. Inna Allah Azizun Hakim. Allah is Aziz and Hakim. So when we are stuck and you're really in a battle, you're really, really stuck, tell him, Ya Allah, I asked you just as the Prophet asked in Badr. It's my istighasa. I'm asking you, help me. Just help me. And I need your help because I need my heart to be at ease. And you are Aziz and Hakim. Remember these two, Al-Aziz and Al-Hakim. Next one, 820. Quite simple, but needs to be written down. Okay. So I'm going to take, I can find it. There you go. So this is how I would do it. I haven't done it today, just to show you how I would do it. So 820. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. I should have a green one somewhere. There you go. So I've done all the Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in green, because they take me to Jannah, and Jannah is green. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Atiullaha wa atiur rasul. Follow. I don't like the word follow. Ita'a is obeying him by the bare minimum. So obey Allah and his messenger. Wala tawallaw, and don't turn back from him. Anhu. Wa antum tasma'un, whilst you are listening. Don't turn back. It's such an amazing ayat. Simple, but it's really amazing. Right, next one. This is really cool too. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, or you who believe. Istajibu lillahi wa lirasuli. Respond to Allah through his messenger. Idha da'akum, when his messenger calls you, lima yuhikum, and you will enliven yourself, you will live, he'll give you life. Remember, they thought when the messenger was calling them to go to Badr, it would cause them death. But he says, no, whatever the messenger calls you to, it gives you life. For me and you, it's the same thing. Respond to Allah and his messenger so you may enliven ourselves. Ramadan is known as Rabi al-Qulub, the spring of the hearts, because it makes things that are dead grow. Same thing. I talked about this. Allah comes in between a person and his heart. And to him we will be gathered. So you can see how I've put it, and I've put it. If I want to live, if I want life, then I must be able to respond to the messenger. So respond to Allah through his messenger, which is respond to the Quran. Whenever he says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, I would say labbaik. Whenever there's something I have to do it. Lima yuhikum, that's the way I live. I'lamu anna Allah, and know that Allah comes between a person and his heart. So tell him, come between my heart. Make me fall in love with your book, which is what we recited right at the beginning. And to him we will return. So you will see I've written higher, which is intervened, so you know what it means when Allah comes in between the person and his heart. Right, next ayah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. This is ayah 27. La takhunu Allaha wa rasul. That's exactly the opposite of what we read in 20. Do not be unfaithful to Allah and his messenger. Now, a sign of being unfaithful is that we will cheat in what is given to us, a trust. He says, وَتَخُونُوا أَمَانَاتِكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, and don't be unfaithful to the trust that has been put into you whilst you know. And that's any responsibility, written, unwritten, spoken, unspoken. As the moment a responsibility is taken up, we have to fulfill that responsibility. That is what we did. That's what we have to do. So I go back, I've highlighted that in green, and then I put orange. And I've put it down as trusts down there. Let me just take that out so it's easier for you. Next one, 829. This is Taqwa. You could highlight it right up here. Again, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu. I've just sort of highlighted this. Let me go back to the ayah so you can see it. In Taqwa, if you are God conscious, look what it gives you. يَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ فُرْقَانًا وَيُكَفِّرْ عَنْكُمْ سَيِّئَاتِكُم. All you have to be conscious that Allah is around. Wikaya, protect yourself from everything that's wrong. And He says He will give you a distinction. You immediately, you go a step up. وَيُكَفِّرْ عَنْكُمْ سَيِّئَاتِكُم. All your bad deeds are covered. وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُم. And He forgives you. وَاللَّهُ ذُو الْفَضْلِ الْعَظِيمِ. And that is literally the greatest achievement. And with Allah is the greatest of achievements. So it's quite simple. Just highlighted it in green. Finally, the last one, which is my favorite. I mean, I don't think there's any ayah like this. I absolutely adore it. Here we go. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ. And Allah does not. لِيُعَذِّبَهُمْ. He will not punish them. Why? وَأَنْتَ فِيهِمْ. Because you are amongst them, O Muhammad. Now, أولون محمد وآخرون محمد وأوسطون محمد وكلنا محمد. First is Muhammad, the last is Muhammad, they're all Muhammad. So whilst Imam Zamana Ajjalallahu Faraja is amongst us, within us, it's not going to punish us. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ مُعَذِّبَهُمْ. And He will not punish you وَهُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. while you ask for forgiveness. It's not rocket science to never ever stop asking for forgiveness and never ever stop wanting to be in the company of Imam. I've put these two here. I've written Prophet M14. I've written Istighfar. You know, if you forget everything I've done today, don't forget 833. Just ingrain it in you. Make it your passcode. Oh God, I've said it. Don't. But do whatever you want. Remember 833. Because if there is any punishment on you, ever in the grave, Ya Allah, you promised in 833 that you would not punish me if I ask for forgiveness. And every day, astaghfirullah rabbi wa atubu ilayh. And don't forget, just istighfar all the time. And when we come to Surah An-Nur, we'll see how great that istighfar is as well. So we come to the end of this session today. And inshallah, tomorrow we will do Juz 10. So ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك حجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآله الطاهرين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد المرسلين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على شهداء جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس وأنيس النفوس. السلام عليك يا أيها المدفون بأرض طوس. السلام عليك يا ضيف الشيعة والزوار في يوم الجزاء. روحي وجسمي لك الفداء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان 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 من فتن الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا قاطع البرهان. السلام عليك يا إمام زماننا هذا. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته.